Hi, this is Dan from Rocket Tools, and I will tell you up front, I get so excited when I can integrate another tool with something that I use every day, and that has to be ChatGPT. As you know, it's ubiquitous in our lives, and there's a tremendous number of apps out there that can help you do this, but I have always wanted to have it front and center in GHL. Now, we power part of our agency model in our CRM with GHL, and so what I thought I would show you today is a really cool hack on how to incorporate ChatGPT and really a lot of other automations into your GHL account and make it so useful for your users. Now, let me give you a little background. I kind of stole this idea from a company that I am a power user of, and that is Raycast. Raycast is a power function on your Mac. It should be included in every Mac that's shipped. And basically what it allows you to do is to do things like use your command bar to open up a browser interface and immediately do workflows with your keyboard. It is just so powerful. It allows you to put AI or scripts or snippets or actions. We even have it programmed in our space where we can send it to things like active pieces to generate content. It is a hugely useful tool. But the problem with it is that it only works on Mac. And unless you have a subscription, you really can't use it in like your CRM or something like that. So for our users, we wanted that same functionality. We wanted them to be able to just do a simple command and pull up ChatGPT and use artificial intelligence, machine learning systems and LLMs in any application they were working on, not just the ones that maybe HighLevel had actually have done the integration with. So let me show you how this works. And I think you're going to be impressed. And I'm going to show you actually how we built it. And we built it with a lot of help from another group. And I'm going to give them a huge amount of push toward the end of this video because we would not have been able to do this without a little bit of a plugin that made this so useful. And I think something that also should be shipped with almost every HighLevel account. Let's go over to my desktop and let me show you exactly how Raycast works. And then I'll kind of walk you through how we put this together. So this is Raycast. So it is just a phenomenal program. So I just hit the command and spacebar, and it's going to pop up these huge amounts of tools that I can use within the app. So I can show you really crazy things. I can type AI, and I can pull up AI. I can say, I can do things like, do dogs make good pets? And honestly, this is a great application, and I use it almost probably 150 times a day when I'm working at my desktop. It's just really, really great. And I love the functionality so much. I wondered, could we actually build this into HighLevel and build it into our GHL account so that our clients could have access to this technology because it's just so powerful. So let me show you how it works. And I think you're going to be impressed. I love it. So hopefully you'll love it too. But up in our top bar, you're going to notice that we've got several other kind of widget icons. And we've got one that looks like a lightning bolt. And when I click it, it's going to pop up a pop-up on the screen. And it's going to say, select your model. So I'm just going to go ChatGPT. And I can do the same thing. I can say, do dogs make good pets? And you're going to see it's going to generate a response. And what's really crazy is that I did it on the screen where I'm working, which means that I could go to another area like our sites menu, and it's going to follow me along. So I could actually do the content creation in one part, and I could actually transfer it somewhere else, and it's not going to change. The other thing that's crazy about this is that we can actually do other things with it because we get to program, and I'm going to show you how to do it, and it's so super easy. We get to program the bot that's powering this. We can do some cool things. So you'll notice that we put in Perplexity and we put in Claude models. We find that, ChatGPT Omni is actually spectacular. Sometimes we get a little bit more intuitive writing and personas when we use Claude. And of course, Perplexity just brings in current information. So if you're particularly trying to write something about a current event or you want to know what's happening in the world right now, then using Perplexity is really a good option. We even built a text-to-speech. So you can actually type a response and it'll generate a text-to-speech back, which then you can put into maybe an automation or you could send it as a text message to someone else. But I want to show you a couple because these are kind of cool. We actually write a lot of content. And in fact, our agency niche is that we're storytellers. So we help people to create content. So let me just kind of show you this one. We can get blog writer. I'm going to write things like here, you know, dog walking with segues. We'll say something like that. And we're going to notice that this is going to write an optimized blog. And these blogs are using prompting that we have developed over the last couple of years to generate just optimal blogs. And it's probably going to be somewhere around 1,500 words or so. It's going to have an introduction, a key takeaway section. It's going to have, you know, different numbered blocks, and it's even probably going to have FAQs at the end, which it does. And in fact, we do blogs, and they will often cross-pollinate that content into a newsletter. So you could copy this and again put it on your blog into GHL, or you could just click, you know, use content in newsletter, and it's going to write a newsletter that we like. Again, our style. It's going to write an introduction. It's going to say in 5 minutes or less, and it's going to write, write that kind of newsletter. So that's how it works, and it can work on any window. So it doesn't matter which window we open. It just works amazing. So the question is, how did we do it? Well, we did it through some great work of Austin and James Rivers from Pimp My GHL, and they're the ones that actually set up this widget for us. They set up this widget, and so I would highly recommend reaching out to them. I'll put the link below. Okay, so to put that cool chatbot inside that widget, we actually did it in Typebot. I'm not going to do a detailed kind of instructional video on how to use Typebot, but I am going to show you how we created this particular widget. If you go over to Typebot, I'm going to show you our screen here, and you're going to see that this is really the headline of the model. There's our ChatGPT Omni, Perplexity, Claude Sonnet, text-to-speech, blog router, newsletter router. So I thought today for this example, let's add Gemini, because we don't have Gemini included. I like Gemini for a couple reasons. One, it's very inexpensive, and honestly, it's getting better and better and better outputs that we've seen in that content. So let me show you how to build one of these, and if you like this information, then comment in the description below and like and subscribe, and I will do more videos on how to build Typebot integrations into GHL. So let me kind of show you how this works. So I'm going to move down here to the bottom part of the canvas. You can see there's our 11 labs, which we've connected our text-to-speech. And there's our blog router, newsletter router. So let's just start from scratch. So the very first thing that we're going to want is we're going to be able to collect information from the user. So if we're going to do a prompt like with Gemini, we're going to do something like collect text from the user. So the way that works is we just drag over a text bubble, and I like to label it. So I'm going to put Gemini up at the top so kind of know what it is. And we need to write a statement, and this is the statement in the chatbot that's going to be given to the user. So, and we're going to say something pretty consistent with what we did up here. So let's just look and make it the same. How can we help you today? So that's what we're going to put, and just something like that. And then that's the statement displayed by the chatbot. Now we have to collect the text that we can then pass to the large language model. So simple. We go over and we grab this text bubble, we put it here, and we put a variable. Now I'm pretty user friendly. I like to do the same thing over and over again. So I call these user answers. And if you're in VoiceFlow, you may call them last utterance. There's all different terms for it, but this is the one that I usually like to use as user answer. So at this point, I've collected input from the user. So now what I need to do is to pass that into Gemini. And let me show you how easy that is using a program like Typebot. Now Typebot has a whole host of integrations from OpenAI to Mistral. I think it's got Anthropic on here too, and 11 Labs. So it makes it really, really, really simple. But you're going to notice that Gemini is not included over here. But what we can do actually is we can use OpenRouter. So I'm going to move OpenRouter over here. I'm going to move Gemini down a little bit. And we're going to say this is going to be our Gemini completion. That's what I usually label it at. So this will be our block where we will send this content over to Gemini. So I'm going to go ahead and connect it so I don't forget to do that later. So content comes in here. It's collected from the user. It's passed over to Gemini. I click configure. I already have my OpenRouter AI key set up. Now you're going to need to do that. It's dirt cheap. Just go to OpenRouter, sign up for an account, get an API key, and as soon as you do that, you get access to just, I don't know, hundreds of different models probably that you can use to test and do things. And it's often just a great one-stop subscription for getting access to OpenAI models. So I'm going to click an action. I'm going to say create chat completion. I'm going to pick a model. Now, Just for fun, I'm going to show you all of the models that are available on Anthropic. And in fact, I think I even saw Perplexity. So if you don't have a Perplexity account, you can do that here too. I think our Perplexity integration before was actually created through our own API, but you can do this all through OpenRouter. So let's look up Gemini so we don't have to go through the list, and let's pick this Pro 1.5 model, which will be really good. Now we need to add our prompt. Now the prompt can be very complicated. So in our blog article writer, we've got our prompt that we've developed over the last couple of years that gives these really optimal blog articles. Same thing with newsletters. Same thing with ad copy. Same thing with any kind of copy that you wanted to pass out. But in this particular case, we're going to need to put our prompt in there. So I actually am just going to use the prompt that I have saved from above, and we're going to put system, and we're going to put a prompt here. And look what I'm going to do. I'm going to use Raycast, and I'm going to go to Raycast, and I'm going to type in floating widget. And guess what? This is the same floating widget that I stole the idea from. So Raycast has this floating widget, and you can see I have all kinds of code and different things that I store on here that I use over and over and over again. So I'm just going to go to the top. I'm going to move this Google Tag Manager out of the way, okay? And I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to look and see what kind of prompt that I used for my ChatGPT. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to go down to messages, and it just says, you're a helpful AI assistant. You're asked to provide assistance with a request from the user. And it's going to say, present, use the context, and assume that this is a response from the user. Okay, so basically, it's just basically being a helpful OpenAI user. So we're just going to copy this. I'm going to show you something fun. We could just obviously just go paste it at the bottom, but wanted to show you exactly how this works here. So I can put it up here in Raycast, and now it's in my floating widget. It's saved. I can use it, whenever I wanted to. Now I'm going to go back down here to Gemini, where we're working, and we're going to go back over to this completion, and I'm going to messages, and I put system. I guess I can put user because that's what I put at the top. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to type that in, and my prompt is in place. Now that's going to send the prompt through OpenRouter to Gemini. So that's basically the way that works. Now I'm going to have to save the response, and so I just click save. I need to add a save, and it's going to be the message content, and I usually always save it as assistant answer. Okay, so now I'm bringing in the content, collecting it from the user, and I'm getting a chat completion. But I've got to display it back to the user. So the way to do that is the same familiar text bubble that we used before, but this time what we're going to do is we're going to pass in the assistant answer. Okay, so now we have text coming in, sending it through the completion, we're doing the processing, and we're going to display it back as assistant answer. Now, we want it to be cool and for us to be able to use it in the bot, and the problem is that now it's just going to end. So we're going to have to figure out a way to make it kind of be able to use it again. So I'm going to follow this same kind of format that I used up here, and the way to do that in Typebot is real simple. You bring over these buttons, and what we're going to do is we're just not going to add a lot of programming here. It's just going to be start over, and maybe we're going to add continue. Okay, so that's all we're really going to do, something like that. Now, you could drag arrows and all that, and in fact, on continue, you can literally just drag it back up, and it's just going to continue going back up. Now, I'm going to show you a problem with that here in just a minute, which is why that's not a good idea, but that's what you would think you would do, would be just to drag it back up. But the problem is you haven't had a block in which to input additional information. So we're not going to use that. We're actually going to do something a little bit different with the continue. But on the start over, we can actually put in a little programmatic element in a Typebot called a jump. And I usually try to label them jump. I'm not really sure why. And I'm going to take this to the intro. So when we click start over, it's going to bring us all the way back to the beginning to kind of start over. Now, here's where it gets a little bit complicated, but it's really not that complicated. If we want to continue this chat, right, we want to continue the chat, we've got to pass in some information back to the user. So let me go back up here and show you how we did it in ChatGPT so you can see the visual kind of elements of it before we actually do it here, okay? So what happens here is that when we click continue, we're actually going to go down to a box that says collect user answer, okay? So this is one way to do it. I'm going to show you something a little bit more visual below, so it makes it a little bit easier so that you can kind of see. And that's you can do it that way, but I'm going to show you a way to do it where you can actually visually see sort of what's happening. And all we really need to do is to create another text bubble, right? Which we can just say additional Gemini, okay? And in this one, what we're going to do is we're going to say something like, what else can I help you with? Question mark, right? And in this case, we're going to bring in another text bubble, okay? And this is just going to be the user answer again, okay? So now when we click continue, we actually go to this block here, and this block will take us back over to the Gemini completion, okay? So now, just kind of walk through this flow before we test it, okay? The message comes in, how can we help you? You put in your information, goes over to a Gemini completion. It displays the answer. You make a decision to either start over, in which case we're going to go all the way back to the beginning, or you make a decision that you need to have additional information. So what else can I help you with? It collects additional information and sends it back to Gemini, okay? So that's basically the way the system works. Now, I want to show you a little something that we did, and I kind of passed over it before, but now that you've seen the whole flow, you'll kind of understand it. This prompt, and let me make the prompt a little bit bigger so that you can see it a little bit. It says, you're a helpful AI assistant, and you're asked to provide assistance with a request from the user, which is the user answer. That's what we're passing in. But if present, use this as context and assume this was in your response to a user request or question. So what we're doing is we're passing back in the previous response. Now, I know there's going to be some prompt engineer folks out there that are going to tell me, Dano, this uses a lot of tokens. It does. But you know what? We're not using this as a power user trying to do API calls and things like that. We're trying to generate optimal content. We're trying to do it easy. We want to make changes to these prompts on the fly. This is just a really kind of easy way to do it. So at this point, I'm going to close this floating widget. We've actually created this particular flow. Now, we need to test it. Now, let me give you a little warning up front. And this is just, again, feedback from me. I don't know how accurate this is, but this has been my impression. OpenRouter can sometimes be a tad bit buggy. So whereas going directly to a model, like integrating directly to OpenAI, directly to Claude, directly to Perplexity, we get more consistent functioning. Sometimes with OpenRouter, I don't know if it's limits and a lot of people on that platform, it seems to us that sometimes it can be a little slower and it can be a little buggy. And also, whereas we like to see streaming in our responses back to users, it just looks more visually appealing. Sometimes with OpenRouter, we get chunking, which means it is streaming, but it's coming back in chunks, which it can be a little bit off-putting. But regardless, that's the way we're going to do Gemini. We could actually integrate with Gemini directly, but it's just so much easier to do it with OpenRouter, and I wanted to show you that integration. So here we're done. We've done our flow. Let's see if it works. Okay, so we're going to go up in the first block. We're going to hit this little start arrow, and here we go. So we're going to raise something like, dogs versus cats as family. Well, let's start over. Let me give it something to do with it. Let's say something like, please write a blog. Don't make fun of me. I'm always polite about to OpenAI models, and my staff makes fun of me. Please write a blog about dogs versus cats as family pets. Okay, let's just kind of see what happens. And there it goes. So you noticed I almost pushed pause. I almost said it's broken, it's not working, because it really had to think about it. And that's because of this sort of open router sometimes approach that we see. But there's our blog, and actually I'm not going to read it, but I would say the format looks pretty good. Okay, so let's click continue. Okay, and let's say write a Pinterest post about this blog, and let's just see what happens and see if it'll pass it. And there we go. It's starting anyway. And there you go. So there's our Pinterest post. Put the link in the blog. There's a good headline. Didn't put hashtags, but that's probably okay. And then let's click start over just to make sure we can go back to the beginning. And there we go. So we've made the loop. Now, there's one thing else we need to do, and that is we got to go back up here to our start menu. And we've got to put a link at the beginning so that we can get to it from the start menu, because right now we tested it inside the app. So the way to do that is really simple. I'm going to stick it, I think, after Sonnet. So I'm going to put it right there, and I'm just going to say Gemini. And I think I'm going to put 1.5, so which will kind of know what it is. And then I'm going to do the other jump. So I'm just going to bring a jump in. I'm going to bring in here after the Anthropic one, and I'm going to configure, go down, and I'm going to say Gemini. And that's it. And now all I have to do is connect this loop just like that, and it should be done. Make sure we click publish so that it's live. Let's test it inside here just to make sure it works. We click Gemini, and boom, it takes us directly to it. So it should work, but let's just test it one more time. Do dogs make good pets for 5-year-olds? And again, kind of being chunky. So this is the part that I was kind of talking about. We're going to give it a minute, and there it comes, right? So you won't see that in direct connections to Gemini. You're only seeing that because we're doing it here. So looks like it's working. We've hit published. So now let's go back over to Rocket Tools, okay? And so in Rocket Tools, let's go back to our widget, and let's pull it back up, and there it is. There's Gemini 1.5, the one that we just built. So now we can do the same thing. We can say, can I walk 4 dogs at one time? Question mark, right? And again, it's getting a little chunky over here too. And let's see that we get a good response from it. And there we go. It's going to decent response. And so now all of a sudden, this content is present here in our GHL account. I could take this, I could copy it, I could put it in a newsletter, I could copy it, I could put it, create emails here, any application that I could use an open AI model or a ChatGPT style model, I can build it here. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you enjoyed the widget as much as we do within our GHL account. If you have any questions about it, then be able to put those in the comments below. We take inspiration from these videos and the comments that people write, and so we really appreciate you taking the time to give us a comment and give us feedback. I will also put the links below to all of the things we talked about, including Raycast and Typebot, and also Pimp My GHL, so you can have an opportunity to connect with those folks directly because they have just amazing products. If you have crazy ideas on how we could use this technology within HighLevel, and you want me to see how we create even more powerful bots, which includes things like agents and agent swarms and multi-agent flows to create really cool things like put in an idea, create a proposal, create marketing materials, all with one click, then put those comments below and I'll show you how to integrate other applications into Typebot like FlowWise and other kind of multi-step agent models. Just let me know and provide that kind of input. And also, if you like this content, like and subscribe to our fledgling YouTube channel. My name is Dan McCoy. I'm the owner of Rocket Tools, and we are storytellers. We love to hear your stories, and we love to see your comments below. We look forward to talking to you again next time.